Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access, it's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, I am your host, and I am so glad that you have taken the time to join me and my guest as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. Now, when I say Foxborough, we're really talking about our area because Foxborough is not an island, and it's the surrounding areas and the fact that we're equidistant between Boston and Providence that I really believe makes us special. And so part of that is every once in a while we reach out and we see somebody who touches us, makes us curious about them, who they are, and I've met one such fellow. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Scott Maloney. Scott.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, you do not live here in Foxborough. Is this true?
Correct. Affirmative.
Well, despite that fact, we're going to be very interested in meeting you.
Right.
I've been reading a little bit about you and your story, and also the fact, and I'm going to just skip right to the chase here. Scott Maloney is the author, along with his mom, of Lean on Me, which is a tale of inspiration, I believe.
That's right.
Would you agree with that?
It's a story of hope, healing, and holding on.
Hope, healing, and holding on. Now, normally I'm more than happy to go into a long dialogue about how this is that and the other, but that wouldn't be appropriate here because this is really Scott's story. So Scott, why don't you tell us about what happened to create the motivation for Lean On Me, and then where we go with this?
All right. Well, it's a relatively short book. I think of it as a plane book. You could read it on a quick flight from Boston to, Florida or something like that, which is why they should sell in airports. But they don't for some inexplicable reason.
Well, then maybe the marketing department will get together and you never know.
I call it a light read with a heavy message. I can get right into it.
Sure.
Today, I'll start in the past. My senior year of college, I was the victim of a self-destructive decision I made under the influence of alcohol. Contrary to common assumption or presumption, I wasn't drinking and driving. Mm-hmm. I wasn't hit by a drunk driver. It was actually a fall. I fell outside my third story of my dorm at a college in Worcester.
Okay. That sounds pretty traumatic, and it was a life-altering
It certainly was.
event, I have come to believe. So you fell from the window and unconscious. What were the injuries?
No, unconscious, isn't it? If we can get personal, if we can, put the camera on you, Bob, for a sec. If I can ask you a quick question.
Absolutely.
Are you a parent?
I am indeed. I have two children. One's 22 and one's 19.
Oh, okay, wow. So I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
And I worry
for a
every
sec.
night.
I talk about how I'm responsible. I'm 100% responsible for delivering every parent's worst nightmare. That dreaded phone call that wakes you and your wife up at 3 o'clock in the morning that says, get to the hospital ASAP and be prepared for the worst. On September 18th, just over 12 years ago, I was responsible for delivering that phone call to my folks. I didn't deliver personally, but I fell outside my third story of my dorm at Becker College in Worcester. Okay. And I was declared legally brain dead. My folks were told that upon arrival at the ER. They thought, this is number two. I was 2 of 5 kids. 4 of them are guys, boys. So we're used to late night phone calls, broken bones, stitches, no big deal.
Sure.
But they were told when they got there that he's gone, that I'm gone.
That had to be a tremendously long drive for them. And they live in Plainville now, and you're from
Yes.
Plainville?
Yeah.
So our next door neighbor, and they had to drive all the way out to Worcester for that. What a long drive that must have been for them.
Yeah. Well, they weren't expecting, no, it was a relatively short drive because they went out there thinking, he broke his bone or he got into a fight with his roommate, even though I didn't have any roommates at that time. But it's no big deal. And then when they got there, they said, what's up? Where's Scott? Let's see, did he dislocate his shoulder? What happened?
Sure.
And then they said, actually, your son is gone. He's legally brain dead. And they escorted my folks to my room and were told to say their last goodbyes.
That's incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
So we're at this hospital late at night. They're there. What happened? We'll call it a miracle. How did the miracle happen?
Somehow my folks were able to convince an attending neurosurgeon that there was a chance that I was still with it, because they were doing routine examinations every 15 minutes, where they said, one of the attendings said, wait, guys, before we pull the plug,
Sure.
To be insensitive, but that's how it was. Before we pull the plug, I think I see a flicker in Scott's eye, in his left eye, and that was it. That gave him all the hope they needed. And what ensued was a 4-hour brain surgery, over 3 weeks in a coma, and after that it was still hit or miss whether or not I'd ever be the funny, happy-go-lucky Scott that I am today and that I was before.
Well, before taping, we were doing a little singing, so I know at least you're on key there. So
a little bit.
We've made.
I got the right key, but the wrong keyhole.
So, from there, it must have been a horribly long road to recovery. So, coming from, and this is 12 years ago. So, can you just share briefly,
Sure.
how we got from there to where we're here tonight sharing, and also what we're doing? And by the way, sharing with folks at home. Again, Scott and his mom Linda are authors of the book Lean On Me, but also you do motivational speaking,
That's right.
and so I'm fascinated by you as a person also.
Sure.
So the tragedies do not define us, but it is by definition what makes us who we are. So
right.
I'm really fascinated to see where we're at.
I like that. Did you make that up?
I just did now, yes.
spur of the moment?
It's not copyright, you can take care of it.
All
It's all
right,
yours.
pending. Yeah. All right, cool. Before I was MVP of my college cross country team, my junior year, and after that I was in a wheelchair. I returned to school in a wheelchair the spring semester of 2005.
Okay.
And it was a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, so many times I was so upset, and other times gratitude overwhelmed me as well. It was the gambit. I went through the gambit of emotions. And now today, I'm an interactive motivational speaker found on high school, college, and university campuses throughout the country. I have a few programs that I deliver, but the most in demand is called I Got Lucky, and it's meant to be a tongue-in-cheek innuendo type of thing, like I got lucky on the Boston College campus, and that might get students to think, I got lucky, well, I'm going to check that program out, maybe I'll get lucky. And in that program, I speak on the destructive, often self-destructive decisions anyone can make under the influence of alcohol. I give real-world examples. Then when I have the attention of the audience, I share with them my personal story of how I truly did get lucky. And it's not boring. It's not the whole I believe in you rigmarole. It's nothing like that. I have a background in stand-up and improv comedy, so it's entertaining as well as educational.
Interesting. I didn't know we had a comedian flair to this as well.
A starving comedian, but I'm not very hungry.
Well, I'm always hungry, and I am not starving, unfortunately. I should be. But so to that end, I think now's probably a good time to mention you can visit Scott Maloney's website at scottmaloney.com. You can also check him out. He's a motivational speaker, and he's available. He also has an email at info@scottmaloney.com. You can like him on Facebook, you can follow him on Twitter, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. There's many ways to get a hold of Scott.
Watch me on YouTube.
Watch it, and you'll also be able to watch this on fcatv.org, which will also be on YouTube. So there we go. Plenty of ways to get a hold of you, but if I wanted to get a hold of you to be a motivational speaker, you mentioned schools, colleges. What is your target audience, and what is the message? The headline is, how you get them there, but what is the summary? What is the end message you want people to walk away from one of your sessions with?
That's a good question. I've never had that before, so let me repeat the question while I think of an answer. Okay, I got it. It's called...
what is it called? Active listening. It's how you create the space, and you also reiterate what it is you want to say. Excellent, I love it.
The name of the program is I Got Lucky, and I think it can find a correlation or relationship to whomever from wherever doing whatever, because I don't think, in my humble opinion, no one ever stops learning. I mean, no one ever stops learning, so you can always pick up something else. And what is it? What's the saying? Fools learn by making their own mistakes, and wise people make. No, I forget. No, we should cut that out. Take two.
Actually, we don't cut, but I'm going to say that I know exactly what you're talking about because, the issue is not one where we just enter this world out of the womb knowing everything.
Yeah.
Life is a series of mistakes made and experiences gained, which gives us the knowledge to go forward. And hopefully, knock on wood, we don't forget enough of the lessons where we, create better decisions as we go down and go down and go down.
Right.
So, you obviously have a decision that you made or had a decision that you made while attending Becker 12 years ago that was pretty traumatic and, by your own words, probably the wrong decision.
It was.
So although
Certainly was.
no experience that we survive is completely wrong, or else we wouldn't be where we're at. So, put that in the back of your mind as far as here we are, and who better to give that type of message. And so the audience that you're trying to reach, who are they?
High schools, colleges, and universities are the ones are my bread and butter, so to speak. But I would love to break into other fields, other areas as well. Speak to corporate America, things like that.
Sure. And so let's focus on the students for now. And we have in Foxborough, and as in most communities, coming prom time, there's don't drive and drink message. It'll be a smashed up car. Our police department does a great job of putting that out in front of the high school, just as a poignant reminder of what not to do or some of the consequences that can happen. But somehow messages, no matter how well-intentioned we adults are, and we all try to give messages every day, eat your vegetables, don't run with scissors, that sort of thing. If all those messages were learned when we told them the first time, then a lot of the mistakes wouldn't be made.
Right.
So, what is the one or two top messages that you give to the kids that you really want them to walk away from going, Scott Maloney, he's wise because he said, boom.
Actually, if we can, go in there. Foxborough, they're part of the Hawk. I'm from Plainville. Plainville, Rentham, Norfolk.
Hockomock League,
Make up KP. In the Hockomock League alone, I've spoken to KP, Franklin, and Canton. I would have loved to speak to Foxborough. And I can tell you this, there wouldn't be a charge because I have a corporate sponsor, which is a major selling point, and pun intended, because I'm not selling anything. The corporate sponsor takes care of everything.
Really? That's impressive because it just shows that there's a level of commitment. Are you allowed to say the name of the sponsor?
I certainly can.
Please.
It's Anheuser-Busch. And their dedication to eliminate drunk driving and underage drinking, they would put a lot of, there's no limit to, the cost of, there's no price limit to saving one life. And they're dedicated to spending whatever it takes to eliminate underage drinking and drunk driving.
Well, that's great to know, and it's great that you have that sponsorship, that Anheuser-Busch stands
truly
behind you and your message. But to that point, you must have a pretty strong message in order for major corporate sponsorship to take place. I mean, we all say don't drink and drive, but nobody's sponsoring me for saying that. So you must have a very powerful message and a strong way of saying it. So, credit to you. And so, it would be to everybody's credit to look into having you come and speak. So, again, if you're interested in learning more about Scott Maloney, you can check him out at scottmaloney.com. He's a motivational speaker and an author, and I want to talk about the book here next. So I'm going to help you out with that little segue. I'm going to give it to you in advance, and I'm going to give you folks. Be his friend on Facebook. Scott Maloney also is on Twitter. I don't know how to follow him on Twitter, but you'll figure it out. Those of you who do that, you know how to do it.
Scott_Maloney.
There you go.
And that's SCOTTMALONEY. Why not?
And a guy like me, I follow him on LinkedIn, so that's how it works. So let's talk about the book. The authors,
That's right.
Scott and Linda Maloney. Linda's your mom?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Lots of people who don't know my story say, "Oh, did you write this with your wife?" And I say, "No, I don't have a wife. I don't have any significant other." Ladies. JK.
You'll notice I left that one silent so that he could follow up on it. I'm going to now jump in and say, there must have been, interesting is the wrong word, but it must have been very compelling to read it, but also very tough to sit and collaborate and write, because you probably had to uncover
Yeah,
emotions and thoughts and
those
feelings.
scabs.
Anger scabs, exactly.
Yeah.
Peel back some scabs. So tell me a little bit about that, and then I'd like to talk about the chapter by chapter and how we progress.
Well, my mother and I, or my mother, father, and all my siblings have all been very close. But when my mother and I were writing that book, it brought us even closer.
I would have had to have. So my understanding is, and I've not read the book, I'm going to.
That's your copy, by the way.
It is. Well, thank you so much. I hope we will autograph it. So
Certainly will.
it's written in chapter form, and each chapter, my understanding is, has a phase or a stage, and then it's associated with a song.
That's right.
So tell me about how that came about. What's the meaning of the music when it comes to each stage?
Well, the book itself is named after a famous song, "Lean on Me," and I won't sing it because I'm not much of a singer.
And I won't sing it because the public must be protected. So.
It's called "Lean on Me," and most of the chapters, not all, but most of the chapters are named after famous songs, because I think music, everybody can relate to music. Who hasn't heard the song "Living on a Prayer"? Bon Jovi. Come on now, everybody has.
Yep.
If you haven't, you can. I was going to say.
No, we won't.
Yeah.
After you watch this, you can go to YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Living on a prayer when my whole family was living on prayers,
Sure.
hoping that I would make it through my coma, because when I was first when the neurosurgeons before they even put me through the brain surgery, they said there's an under 2% chance that I'll make it through the surgery and not be in a vegetative state for the rest of my life.
Now, I want to touch on that. So they didn't have any belief this was going to be successful. And they were doing everything to dissuade your family from any hope, from any belief that it's going to work. And they held out no hope. Are we in agreement there?
No, absolutely.
So then something miraculous happened. They were able to relieve the swelling or whatever it was. And so your mom has to have had such a roller coaster of emotions, but at the end was vindicated. So writing this must have been cathartic in a way, but also revealing from her standpoint. So how much of her influence is in this book?
Quite a bit. We wrote it 50-50.
Okay.
And like I was saying, I owe. It's weird. When my mother and I were interviewed when this book first came out in the summer of 2014, I always said, I owe everything, everything that I have right now is owed to my folks, my mother and my father. My mother, without any hesitation, says, no, you owe it all to yourself, because, we got you through it. We got you through the initial surgery.
Sure.
But you did all the fighting. You got yourself out of the wheelchair. You got yourself running the Boston Marathon for a fourth and final time. I think final time.
You did what?
I ran the Boston Marathon.
You ran the Boston Marathon.
Not once, not twice, not 3 times a lady, 4.
Wow.
4 times.
That's inspiration then for the rest of us who don't even consider doing something as challenging. So good for you.
Thank you.
So, Scott Maloney, motivational speaker, author. Being that you're from Plainville, this is a soft lead. If I wanted to get a copy of Lean on Me, where could I possibly go to get it?
That's a good question.
Thank you. I'm glad I asked it.
It's as if we prearranged that question before.
And we didn't. However, we are here for a reason. And the reason I'm here is to learn more about you, but also where can I pick up a copy of Lean on Me?
An Unlikely Story, the new bookstore at 111 South Street in Plainville, Massachusetts.
That's a great place, isn't it?
It certainly
is. From that corner or from that center crossroads being in the condition that it was to what it is now. I was just in there. It doesn't matter what weekend we're taping this. I was in there last week, and it was really a phenomenal environment, not only because of the energy and the books downstairs, but also the cafeteria.
Right.
But then going upstairs, there was an author sign, and it wasn't just 1 or 2. There were 12 children's books authors signing, and young adult authors signing books, and it was just so dynamic. So what a great resource. It's a hidden treasure. An unlikely story, but it's a hidden treasure, and you're featured there. This is on sale there.
Yes, it is. What Jeff Kinney, the owner, and proprietor of An Unlikely Story has done for my little community is, there aren't words for it. He's pumped life into a dead town.
Well, it's one of those things where
Oh wait,
it takes
I shouldn't say that.
Well,
my
no,
town is not dead.
No, but we know what you mean because we all see it, and we here in Foxborough have the same issue where you see a vibrant growth area, and then you have an area that time or circumstances has gone by, and then what do you do with that space? It's a reality, and so when you say that, I took it as is a revitalization, a new life, and so you're absolutely correct. He made such a beautiful thing out of that area.
For every Gillette Stadium, there's a Plainridge Casino. There's always, there's certain lively parts of town, but that corner of, I think, School Street and South Street is, it's gotten a shot of adrenaline.
Well, for folks who have not visited An Unlikely Story yet, and this isn't a shout out necessarily for them, but it is because it's part of Plainville and they are our neighbors, and together we make a community. It's a wonderful place to visit, and you should definitely, particularly in the holiday season, make it a destination point to just check it out and see what's going on down there. So with Lean On Me, in your authorship status and your motivational speaking, what's next? Where do you see yourself going? I'm a recruiter by trade, so I'm going to ask you the canned question. 5 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Oh, and I'm not going to give you the canned response, in your seat. I hate those things. Who are you a recruiter for?
Well, that doesn't matter, but the important thing is that what I try to do is create opportunities for people to have a chance to get a better opportunity.
All right.
And that's the way I phrase it.
Good answer without answering the question.
Well, it is, but I'm gonna lead it back to you. It's called deflecting. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, so the opportunities that you've created for yourself, right, are pretty astounding because not many people without this type of story would have the wherewithal or the intestinal fortitude, if you will, to put themselves out there and be a motivational speaker. Because, and I'm just going to touch on this briefly, how difficult it must be, or how difficult is it for you to go before a student body of, say, 500 kids and share this powerful story, because you have to really expose yourself, I would think, to show how I got to this point, and then how did I recover, and then how does it resonate with them. So, I mean, you're exposing yourself on a weekly basis when you do these speeches. So that's a lot of work.
It was difficult at first, but like anything, you get better with it in more time. The more often you do it, the better you get at it.
So you're enjoying this.
To say I like it would be an understatement. I love it, and I'll be doing it for as long as audiences are willing to listen.
Fantastic.
And as long as I have a little hair, and not quite as big of a stomach.
Well, the thing about hairs and stomachs is that
overrated.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's overrated. So one final time, I'm going to give you the final word after I go through your promo one more time. Lean On Me with Linda and Scott Maloney. A fantastic read. It's written by chapter with songs to accompany, so it makes it easier for us, the readers, to remember. But if you want to see the real deal, by the way, you can buy this at An Unlikely Story down in Plainville, but if you want to see the real deal, check out Scott Maloney, find out where he's at, where he's appearing, or if you want to book him, Anheuser-Busch is a proud sponsor, and Scott is definitely here for the right reasons to make sure that his powerful message of, we'll call it
responsible
decision making. Yes, thank you. Is one that should be heard. You can reach him at scottmaloney.com. You can email him at info@scottmaloney.com. You can tweet him. You can Facebook friend him, LinkedIn him.
LinkedIn.
I said
Connect with him on LinkedIn.
Connect with him on LinkedIn. But the real important way is to just get a hold of him so that he can become part of your message. So Scott, final word, sir.
Well, that's a good question. All right. Final message. Make responsible decisions. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink underage. Make responsible decisions. Think to yourself, is this in 10 years from now, like you were saying, or 5 years from now, 1 year from now, is a decision I make tonight going to affect the rest of my life? It easily could. climbing up that tree, climbing out that window onto that tree branch. It seemed like such a careless decision. It's not a big deal. It affected my life for the rest of my life.
A life-changing decision that made for a powerful message for all of us. Scott, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and join us. And thank you, folks, for joining me on Foxborough Central. If you'd, of course, like to see a replay of this, in addition to catching it on our wonderful cable channels here, you can, of course, go to youtube.com or www.fcatv.org. On behalf of all the volunteers here at Foxborough Cable Access, I'd like to thank you and thank Scott for joining us. And if you ever want to be a part of your community a little bit differently than what you are now and you want to volunteer, why not join us here at Foxborough Cable Access, and perhaps you can be part of a wonderful production like this, meeting new people and sharing a powerful message. On behalf of the volunteers here, Betty Travers, Deb Storrs behind the cameras, Paul Beck behind the glass, Michael Weber, our executive director who makes this all happen, and Lauren Batar and Jillian Larson who actually make this look good. I'm Bob Hickey, your host, and I thank you for taking the time. Have a great night, Foxborough.